Oh, yeah, there's
you know, the Burlington Northern, like so I got them right up below the line, below those two things. Then they had us vote once on Portland, and then the vote changed. They had us vote again. And
hello,
when we're
Patty.
on
This is George. I
Zoom,
can hear you.
never tell which one.
George is talking. We can hear him.
Yeah,
Wait,
Sam,
oh, there he is. Hi, George.
hey,
Great.
I'll mute.
So, Mikey, do you want to bring us together then?
Yes, ma'am.
Recording in progress.
We made it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hey, Nick.
Hello, Mayor. Welcome.
How are you?
I can barely hear the mayor.
Oh, well, here, I can turn my mic up.
Thank you.
How about now?
It's a bit better, but
Okay.
We'll continue to work on the logistics here for just a moment.
She's got him turned up already.
Turned up, so shall we go ahead and proceed?
Yes, sir.
Great, well, I will just welcome everybody, Mayor, Commissioner, City Councilors, our new Board of Directors for our Coordinated Houselessness Response Office. We will begin with introductions in just a moment, but I first wanted to turn it over to our elected officials of how you would like to begin the meeting. We didn't schedule a Pledge of Allegiance or a land acknowledgement or anything of that nature. If that's something you would like to do or not, I'm happy to proceed as you wish.
oh, I think it'd be appropriate to have the pledge. I don't know, do you have the land acknowledgement with you?
I can
Usually-
get it very quickly.
didn't-
Yes.
Okay, all right.
At the start, so that's okay, yeah.
So should we do the pledge first?
Sure, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, George. I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I can give, this is the Bend City Council's land acknowledgement that was created in partnership with the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. So I want to thank them for offering this acknowledgement. And we encourage everyone to learn about the indigenous people whose homelands we occupy. We would like to acknowledge that the beautiful land known as Bend, Oregon, north to the Columbia River is the original homelands of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. The Confederated Tribes ceded this land in the Treaty of 1855 while retaining regular and customary hunting, fishing, and gathering rights. The Wanalama, Warm Springs, Wasco, Wasco, and the Northern Paiute people inhabited this area in certain seasonal times that clearly established their presence. It is also important to note that the Klamath Trail ran north through this region to the Great Solalo Falls trading grounds. This trade route expanded the impact of commerce between tribal nations. We acknowledge and thank the original stewards of this land. It is our hope that guests continue to honor and care for this land.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I may, I will introduce myself and our staff team, and then we'll turn it over to our new board to introduce yourselves, and we'll walk through that in just a moment. So my name is Nick Lelak. I'm the Deschutes County Administrator. I'm joined by Mickey Dirting, City of Bend's. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mickey Dirting, Strategic Initiatives Manager out of the City Manager's Office at City of Bend.
Thank you. Eric Kropp, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Nick. I'm Eric Kropp with Deschutes County. I work as Deputy County Administrator, and I'm also serving as our Interim Health Services Director. Thank you, Nick.
Great, thank you very much. And Eric King, Bend City Manager, is also an instrumental part of our team, and he's not with us today. So I'd like to recognize Eric as well. We have a robust agenda, about 90 minutes today. We want the focus of today's agenda to be listening to you, and we'll begin with that here in just a moment. With introductions, we have scheduled about 40 minutes for that. Just to set the foundation for where we're at and where we're going, is to provide a high-level overview of House Bill 4123 that really establishes this project and fortunately also provides funding. We'll discuss the governing board, the role. We'll have an election of a board chair, so if you'd like to begin to think about that. We'll discuss the executive director, the recruitment, where we're at with that process. And then we'll talk a little bit about our next meeting, and then at the end of the meeting, we'll have an opportunity for public comment. So if I may, I will turn it over to our new board, and I'll let you introduce yourselves as you wish. We would just like to hear a little bit about you, which, of course, we can see who you're representing with your name tags, but if you'd like to share the organization you're representing, how your organization is addressing houselessness, what some of the initial strategies you've employed or what you're thinking about, and what are your hopes for the collaborative office. Mickey, this will become a routine. I'll continue to check in with Mickey. Anything else that I need to make sure we cover? And
No, you got it all.
That's good.
The one thing that we were going to ask is, the one thing that's missing is, how is your county, city experiencing homelessness? And then that was it.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. So with that, if I may turn it over to our board, and I'll let you decide who would like to go first.
Well, I'm the first one on this side, so I'll go first. Hello, I'm Andrea Blum, and I'm on the Sister City Council. I've been on council since 2015. My husband and I moved to Central Oregon in 1988. So I've been in Sisters Country since then, but not in the city proper. How we experience houselessness. Sisters is unique, I think, in possibly maybe like Lapine as well, in that our houseless, for the most part, are not in the city limits. We have a few that are around from time to time, and we kind of know who those people are and what their situation is. But the vast majority, which is like around 100 people, are in the forest within commuting distance to the city. There is a certain percentage of them, maybe around a third, that are actually working in Sisters. We've had our county behavioral health people out, and I appreciate the additional staff that we have now working part-time in Sisters and part-time in Lapine. We also have the Forest Service outreach person and our Deschutes County Sheriff. They all work and coordinate the needs of the people that are out there. So that's kind of our population. So our focus has kind of been on trying to provide housing for the people who work in Sisters but can't afford to live in Sisters, because we know that group of people is our folks, and we feel responsible for them, and that's kind of been our top priority. Then as well, we have a community organization that has a cold weather shelter in the wintertime. And it has been necessary, but it hasn't been well utilized. So we kind of have a group of people, I think our houseless are somewhat able to survive how they're surviving, and don't necessarily come to Sisters for help. And I was surprised, the cold weather shelter, even on the coldest nights, you maybe have 6 to 12 people who might come in, and out of those, we had half of them would come have the meal, and then they'd go home. So they're not really, don't seem to be plugged in too much to coming to Sisters for services. We've seen a slight impact from the opportunities in Bend and Redmond. When those close down, sometimes we get a little carryover of people coming from that direction, but haven't seen a whole bunch of that. But it reminds us once again that we're all in this together. It doesn't do any good for us to solve a little regional problem when everybody else has issues, because we're all in this together for sure. As far as services, other than the cold weather shelter, we have a Kiwanis food bank, which is very much expanding with the need of the community. Have no idea how many people that utilize it are actually houseless. And we also have Mosaic Medical that comes periodically to the food that the community kitchen comes once a week. And Mosaic Medical will pull up their medical health van and service people that have needs. As far as I know, they're doing as would be expected. They're not over, they don't have more people than they can handle, so they seem to be providing a good service. Let's see. And we also have a church that provides drive-through lunches once a week that you can go and pick up. So there is services available. And let's see what the question was. So what the city is doing is primarily looking at affordable housing. We have money set aside for it. We have outreach to many service providers and groups and builders and whatnot that are in that kind of a genre and have not been extremely successful. We are lucky in that we have got 2 apartment unit buildings that are for people that are federally subsidized housing, and given the number of people in the city limits, we actually have probably a higher percentage of housing for the lowest income group than most places do. So it's the middle income. Once again, it's the middle income people who are working but not making enough to survive that we're challenged with. And so my hopes for this organization, this collaboration, is collaboration. There's dozens of small groups, large groups that are working with volunteers as hard and as fast as they can, and they see a number of roadblocks to make any real headway. And hopefully this collaboration will be able to identify what everybody is trying to do out there and see what is not getting done and how we can get financing to help fill those gaps and make sure that the money and the effort that everybody's putting in is worthwhile, because I've worked with volunteer organizations enough to recognize that if you don't see light at the end of the tunnel, eventually you just get burned out. And I think that's where a lot of our volunteers are now. It's like, it's only getting worse. It's not getting better. We need to have a different dynamic somehow. So that's what I'm looking for out of this group. I'm finished.
Thank you. Should we do George next, just to make sure his connection's okay?
Sure, I'll go. All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Sorry I'm not there in person. I'm over at the coast doing some work over here, so I will go ahead and go, and I have the list of things here to discuss. Let's see, in terms of statistics, we actually, sisters, we also have many people, most people outside city limits, out in the hinterlands. They're not in the city. We have about 127 at the January 24th count. And then the winter shelter, however, served about 183. So that means that, we were serving people not within the city limits as well. The Rogue Retreat and Oasis Village did an assessment in March, and they interviewed about 59 people 25 staying in emergency shelter, 29 off the grid, and others were staying with friends. So the point is that we have all kinds of people out there in the area. As far as the current services we offer, we have food and financial assistance. Jericho Road provides food, shower trucks, emergency assistance. St. Vincent de Paul goes out every Monday morning, and over and above their food pantry and a giving closet, they also have laundry, water, and propane that they deliver out at the east end of Redmond to those people that are living out of the city limits. Thrive Central Oregon does financial and housing assistance, food, basic needs. The Redmond Collective Action, they have a Sunday pop-up kitchen and also try and provide basic needs. And then the Mountain View Fellowship is kind of the leader of the faith-based community there that's serving the homeless, and they do shower laundry and are the head of our safe parking program. As far as medical goes, medical and behavioral, we've got the Mosaic Medical, Mobile Clinic, Best Care Treatment Services. Deschutes County Behavioral Health comes out and serves the community. In addition, we have the group called the 17th Street Partners. It's our mini version of Hunnell Road. And we have an ad hoc group of individuals, service providers, and businesses that all get together with the city staff. And we provide at that site regular garbage services. And then that is the area that has the most densely homeless area in the city. And then on occasion, groups go out and do a cleanup in that area. For emergency shelters, got Shepherd's House, which is an overnight winter shelter, mid-November through mid-March. We provide substantial funding to that through our community block grant programs, and then a cooling and smoke shelter as needed. In terms of transitional shelters, both of these are new within the last year. We have a safe parking program that we're offering these microsites where 1 to 6 vehicles are allowed to park and shelter. They are administered by the newly formed nonprofit through the Mountain View Community Development. That is that church I mentioned earlier. And then there was some initial ARPA funding that went to start up that program. And then secondly, we have Bethlehem Inn, which I think you all know. We have 14 rooms offering housing up to 88 individuals, and they received a $2.7 million project turnkey, as well as some additional grants from the county and downtown urban renewal to support that program. In the works for upcoming, we have expansion of that safe parking program I mentioned. Don't know yet the eventual number. It'll depend on how many organizations sign up. For example, the VFW now will serve one, and they're willing to go to a second one for veterans. Shepherd's House, Redmond campus, year-round low barrier shelter will be opening next year. And I think most of you know Shepherd's House. They have meals, resources, case management, and so forth. And then Oasis Village, which will be a low barrier, tiny bedroom, transitional sheltering community. So that's all of the services we have or will soon to have. And in terms of what am I looking for, and I think more and above that, the city itself, we need to leverage a collective knowledge so that municipalities in Deschutes County can reach consensus and take actions that can reduce the occurrence of homelessness. Serve as a hub for funding and making investments in homelessness. Set annual success metrics and be able to achieve them. I think that's important. Build upon, but try and avoid duplication of what is going on in other areas, such as coordinated entry system, homeless management information system. Align the efforts of the various service providers and policy makers. Be consistent in your policies and best practices across Deschutes County. And then I added one, try and develop a successful and repeatable model that could be used in other jurisdictions if possible. So that is my list and where I see Redmond. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mayor Endicott. Would anybody else like to go?
My name is Colleen Scott, and I am representing, I'm on the City Council of Lapine, and I have lived in Lapine for about 9 years. I've been serving on the City Council for 2 years, and my term will end in December. I'm just thrilled to be a part of this committee, and we'll just go over briefly what is happening in Lapine in terms of addressing our houselessness population. We're similar to what has been said concerning sisters. Most of the houseless population lives outside of our city limits, basically around the forest area. So what we have an advantage over some of you is that our city limits and where the forest starts, it's a walkable distance. So the services that are available to the houseless community are within walking distance. For example, we have our community kitchen, which would be serving a hot meal Monday through Friday, so that if you were needing something, you could walk there. You could also pick up clothing, and any hygiene needs that you might have are also available at the kitchen. Within walking distance also is our senior center. And what's nice is that whether the weather is, as you know, we do reach freezing and well below. I think we went to -4 this year. These places also provide somewhere for someone to stay warm or to cool off. So the senior center and the community kitchen, I would say, are our most used resources in terms of not only food, but just having a place to hang out and socialize. Then we go further than that. We have our library, I would have to say, is one of the best places in town, because you have to realize that the houseless population also does not have access to the internet. And at our library, someone can be, if they just have a vehicle, they can pull into the parking lot and they can get internet access, which I think is fabulous. And our library, I could talk to you all afternoon about the services that our library provides. I'm a volunteer there, and I love our staff, because they are very kind and caring with everyone that comes through the doors, and it could be someone who doesn't even understand how to use the library, but they make sure that they have access to all of the services. We do have a warming center in the winter time, and I would like to see that used a little bit more, but I would say that most of our houseless population is living in tents or RVs out in the forest. We do have another advantage is that we do have RV. There are 2 RV parks within the city limits of Lapine, and so your lowest income person, if they had an RV and were able to just pay, that low space rent, those are available, and they're very well maintained. They are not, I would just say that they fit right into our community. And I like that feeling, knowing that no one is made to feel that they stand out. And so in terms of besides the RV parks, the health part aspect is another big advantage. We have the Lapine Community Clinic, and an individual can go in, and based on their income, whether it's 0 or just very low, they can still receive health care, which I think is fabulous. I can't say enough for our community clinic. Again, they are very kind, caring people, and they treat each individual's needs. I think they make each individual feel that they are a person and that they are going to receive the care that they need. The clinic, I know this year, is hoping to expand and get more equipment so that if there are more serious needs, we can meet those as well. So that's our goal for some of the services that are being offered. We have a food bank. You can go in Monday through Friday and just receive a box of food. And I've also worked there. It's a very balanced box of food that you would get. It could be like milk, dog food, because I know many of our houseless population have pets. They can receive food for their pets, and just about any other food item, and they can just come in and pick up a box of food. So I feel like, although I wouldn't say that we have beds for our houseless community, but we do try to meet the day-to-day needs and help each individual stay either warm or cooled off, in the summertime, because our temperatures do get, as you know, they can be quite high. Not this year, but on other years. In terms of what I would like to, the reason I'm participating on this board is because I think it's important for each one of us to share what is going on in our community, and that we come up with solutions together, because this is a unique area. We are different from we're not a large, huge population like Portland, and I feel that everyone here that I have talked to and the people that I know in Lapine, they are all kind and caring people, and we all care about what's happening. And so if there's a best practice that is being used in Bend or Sisters or in Redmond, I think we can all learn together as to how best to address this. Thank you.
I can go next if that's okay. My name is Megan Perkins. I'm a Bend City Councilor. Really honored to be here for the city of Bend. I've been a city councilor for about 18 months now, and this is something that I sort of jumped into immediately after taking office. How is this affecting our city? Well, wow. Our region has seen a 40% increase in houselessness in 5 years. We have over 500 students in Deschutes County that are unhoused, unsheltered. Bend proper has around 800 unsheltered individuals, and over 70% of our population here in Bend does not have a shelter bed, and it's one of the highest rates in the country. The other way I think it's very different is that our houselessness is very visible. I mean, it is everywhere. You see unsanctioned camps at off-ramps, you see in front of businesses, on the highway, all over our community. And because of that, we have had a lot of struggle with our community, and sort of understanding, we're seeing like a continued decrease in sort of solution-oriented conversations, and a lot of just sort of digging in the heels and like, no, I just don't want to see this anymore. And so it's been a struggle as a city to sort of have that public engagement piece as we've been, really aggressively moving forward in a lot of the things that we're trying to do. As a city also, because of this humanitarian crisis that we're facing, we've had to sort of commit resources, funding, staff people to this issue in our community that were previously allocated to something else, some of our core services. So that's been another way it's affected our city. How are we addressing houselessness? Well, I could not possibly do all of the amazing 60-plus organizations and that are doing this work in our community. I could not possibly do them justice by mentioning all of the things that they're doing. I just want to say thank you to all of them for feeding people and giving them clothing, giving them a place to stay. But what I can do is highlight what we're doing as a city, and we've been doing a lot. We've spent a lot of time leveraging, one-time federal and state money to really stand up more shelter beds. We now have a permanent emergency warming shelter that can fit over 90 people. That was a huge shift for our community. Every year we would sort of have this winter warming shelter, and there'd be this rush to kind of figure out where to put it and how to staff it. And now we have this permanent shelter in place that has actually seen, I think, over 800 individuals in just 1 year of being in service. We've, like many of the other groups here, we've helped with Veterans Village, which we were so happy to see open in this past year. In addition, we have a navigation center that's going to be opening, which is, one of the things that we kept hearing about is where do people go during the day? And this is going to be an amazing day center for people to access resources. We bought 2 hotels, one of them with Project Turnkey money, and the other one is sort of a temporary emergency shelter until we can find more places for people to live and more stable housing. And we are about to sort of embark upon an outdoor shelter with Central Oregon Villages, and that is sort of a new thing for our city, and we're really looking forward to that. We've added employees to deal with this. We have, our roads department our streets department has had to hire vendors to help clean up trash. We have had to do a lot as a city in order to tackle this, really important issue. And then as far as sort of what I would like to see, I think that it really hit me in this past week, the importance of this regional, solution. Because, for instance, when we have to clear camps because they're unsafe, where do those people go? Okay, sometimes they go into the forest. Sometimes they go into your community. Sometimes they go around, and then that area is cleared. And then where do they come? Maybe they come back. And so we're sort of in this circle of displacing people, which is, traumatizing for the people that are being displaced. And we're not ever actually getting to the solution, to the crux of the problem. So that is what I am looking forward to the most in this collaborative office. And I think, to see some help with public engagement, I think is going to be really important. I think a lot of the times there's not a lot of understanding, and for good reason. A lot of what we're doing is new, and a lot of it is really scary. What people are seeing, and so just to have someone that can help build coalitions and really engage the community, and an office that maybe can help us sort of get beyond sort of the discourse and the politics of it too. I think is to have that common path forward. And to not only have a plan, but to be able to actually have an office that can help, implement that plan, I think is another thing that I'm really looking forward to.
That's it. Done?
Done.
Great. Well, good afternoon. I'm Patty Adair. I'm Deschutes County Commissioner. This is my 4th year. And actually, looking back at my life, I was actually working on homelessness in the 1990s. I was asked to be a participant of the Union Rescue Mission Women and Children's program in Los Angeles, in downtown LA. And I remember, the trauma, seeing kids, and really in today's world, every homeless person is an individual. And I think it's really important that we get each person's story first. And I think that will really help where we go, because everyone does have a story, and the fact that we have so many children in Deschutes County that are homeless now, that truly is heartbreaking. I feel like as a county commissioner, I have been to most all the homeless camps. I've been to Juniper Ridge, East Antler. They're all actually pretty unique. Juniper Ridge has a lot of wooden chalets with chimneys coming out of them, And I was there in September. Somebody had a fire going. Officer Zook had to take over 10 gallons of water and say, please, sir, put your fire out. It's one of those problems. China Hat, of course, you realize, has been a worry for Deschutes County for quite a while now. We have several hundred people out there. I've been there. And the amazing thing is that each person is actually identified by the sheriff's office. As far as do they have mental illness issues? Are they actually the working poor of Bend, like what you're saying with the working poor of Sisters? They're living out there. A lot of them live out behind Tollgate, and so everybody has a story. And what is it we can do to make that difference? It's truly it's challenging, because you have to think this state. As a commissioner, I first have to look at it on a state issue. We are number 2 in the nation for the number of homeless. in Oregon. We follow California. We are number 2 in the nation following with addiction, including alcoholism and drug use. And some drugs, we're number 1, but we're number 2 overall. I believe Montana was number 1. But the other thing that really grabs at my heart is the fact that we're number 50 as far as residential treatment beds. And I hear about funding coming through for Measure 110 now, but truly, I still believe we're number 50 for residential treatment beds, and so many people do need that help. They need that help. When you have a schizophrenic breakdown, you really need mental health, and maybe this is something that as our groups can all work on, we can collaborate together and have Oregon recognize that some people maybe need to go and have help for 15 or 30 days. It's not working right now. I'm sure you all heard the story, what happened in Sisters just recently, and then someone else came home to Oregon a week ago, and they tried to get some help, and they didn't find it. And, it's truly, there's a lot of mental help in this state that we can really collaborate on and bring it together. So what is our, I think I've talked about the people that live all over Deschutes County. I know BLM was on a call with us the other day. They're trying to do things in Lapine. Met with the Forest Service. They've got their own issues. But then we have the community that lives there that's so worried about fires, because being the county commissioner, I hear about all the fires. I saw the fires when I was out at all the different, sometimes it's sabotage, whatever. Somebody leaves, they leave their camp, and then they get their camps burned up. And so we as county commissioners have to really worry about the safety for the other 200,000 people. And what is it we do? It's a worry. Every day it's a worry. And, I'm glad to see that safe parking is something that's coming up in Redmond. I think that's going to help bring some of the people maybe from 17th Street to safe parking spots. They have a great coalition of 15 churches in Redmond that I'm really proud of. I know we have churches all over the county that have consistently made a huge difference, and I know they will. And if we can just all work together in this plan, when the county, as far as we addressed homelessness, what were our strategies, I was really happy to be the lead, making the motion to get the first $450,000 for the Bethlehem Inn. It didn't look like it was going to get funded, and it was 88 beds. I mean, is that so important? I believe they're having their groundbreaking ceremony, ribbon cutting next week, but it was 88 beds. And then later we pulled out the other the other half of that funding, which was another $450,000. We've done funding for affordable housing all over the county, CORE, Habitat, where is it? We've given money to Sisters. I mean, but the scary thing about all that money that we have designated is that it actually needs to be implemented and spent by, I believe it's 26. So we as a group really have to keep reminding those people that if you've gotten that funding, we need to actually use it so that we don't have to return it to the federal government. And I know it's just something more that, it's on the agenda, but if we're all collaborating together, I feel like, truly, this is a really powerful group of people, and I'm really proud that it's all part of Deschutes County. It is amazing. I was in Umatilla County on Wednesday, driving around there, another one of the 8 counties that are part of this. Now, only in Umatilla County did they do like the western side of the county, Hermiston, Echo, Stanfield, that area, maybe. And really, I never saw any homeless when I was driving around on back streets, etc. But I know they have the issue, and they are trying to make it apparent. But when you drive into Bend, like Megan was saying, you immediately see there were 3 tents, I believe, right next to like the stabilization center. It's there. The ODOT keeps removing them out of the Revere, all those other areas. So we see it in our county much more. It's much more apparent than what I saw in that end of Umatilla County. And I was thinking, we definitely have a unique problem. We definitely, last summer, I believe we had about 1,500 homeless in the county. Colleen Thomas and I, independently of each other, came up with that number. And truly, it was a larger percentage per capita than like LA County. So somehow we have got to figure out what it is that really works best so that we treat everyone as an individual, but we actually get them help. Truly, we need to get them help. I do have great hopes for this office. I think it's outstanding that we have the opportunity, we have the funding, we're going to have an executive director, and to actually make a difference. There's some amazing people that have been working in the state, such as Alan Evans. I met him when I was working on the panel for Bend, and Alan Evans was the first program he ran was like the dollar program at the Wapato jail. Well, now his program called Helping Hands is going into the 6th county in the state with his program. So there are programs out there that are amazing, that are, I would say, successful, and things that we should truly be aware of so that we can make a difference with our population. Like we keep getting all this rain, but you know what? Once it gets really hot, then I'm going to be worried about fires again. So we've got to be able to reach out. I was really proud that our county funded the the extra people, went to sisters.
Invaluable.
Yeah, truly, we need more of that connection so that there is that relationship and the trust, working with more peers. And, one of the first men I met at the gas station a couple years ago was Patty. His name was Billy, and he goes, "Patty, I work, but I'm homeless. You've got to do something to help me." So it's just kind of like that ADU bill that we just got passed. I testified on it for 3 years. Finally, it was passed, but that is workforce housing. Those are those 900 square foot homes in rural Deschutes County, and hopefully that's going to be more housing for people that are working and living. They need to be able to live in our community. So collaboration, and I'm so thankful that we have so many people, such generosity throughout our county. It is, our food banks are tremendous, and yet I look at where we're going with our economy, and we're just going to have to be really careful because I feel it's going to be quite challenging in the next couple years, and thank goodness we have this committee now, and it is funded. So let's see what we can do.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Clearly, I think the opening remarks demonstrate why we've been selected as a pilot project. Our collective will to address this humanitarian crisis that is generating this, just choosing some of the words that I heard, this circle of displacement for an issue that we're experiencing differently across our county, in federal lands, in our cities, on the peripheries, in so many different ways. And some of the common themes I heard are going to be the collaboration, the leveraging of the resources. We're going to learn from one another about what we can do to repeat the successes from one community to another, and achieving results. And one of the things Mayor Endicott said was, creating a model that can be replicated. And that's exactly why we're selected as a pilot, so that what we do, of course, our goal is to achieve those results that we care very much about, can be replicated across the state, and then they can be sustained here. So I'm certainly moved by the opening remarks, and I really appreciate everybody sharing what you're experiencing in your communities, what some of your initial strategies are, and what your hopes are for the office as we go forward. I think that really just provides an extraordinary foundation for where we're going. If I may, I'll shift gears and turn it over to Eric Kropp to give us a high-level summary of House Bill 4123. We'll talk for just a few moments then about the board role, and then we'll proceed with electing a board chair, and then, if you wish, a vice chair as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Next topic is update on House Bill 4123. I don't know, Mickey, do you have the slide up? I can't quite see. It's the presentation slide. There we go. Your board packet includes the text from House Bill 4123, and then in your board packet, there's actually highlights that kind of summarize the key components of the House bill. That includes establishing the office or coordinated office on houselessness. It includes forming a board, adopting an IGA, coordinating with the continuum of care, and hiring an executive director. So just a quick summary of where we are on each of those items. The first, in terms of establishing an office, we're obviously in the process of that. The physical location of the office will be provided by the City of Bend. The City of Bend has purchased the Rainbow Hotel. There are some administrative areas or non-living quarters that will be the physical location of this coordinated office. And we are anticipating a move-in date of August. The next task from HB 4123 is forming a board of directors, which, as you know, you are part of that. So we're happy to report that that's been completed. Another task is developing and adopting an intergovernmental agreement. There is a draft IGA that has gone to the Deschutes County Commissioners and was conceptually approved on June 8th. It was also approved by the City of Bend on June 15th. And then it's scheduled for Lapine and Sisters City Councilors on June 22nd. And then at the end of June, on June 28th, it's scheduled to go to the City of Redmond. So the IGA is in process. The next task is to coordinate with the continuum of care. In Central Oregon, the continuum of care is the Homeless Leadership Coalition. That language, we will work with the continuum of care. It's part of the strategic plan. So we've got that one checked off as well. And then the last task in House Bill 4123 is to have an executive director for the coordinated office. That's in process right now, and I'll give an update a little bit later on the agenda where it's scheduled. So any questions about HB 4123? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to talk about the board of directors and the role. Thank you each for raising your hand and volunteering to represent your community and your city councilor, your city council, or the County Board of County Commissioners. Really, the role of the board, as we see it, is similar to your role as a city councilor, or in the case of Commissioner Adair, her role as a county commissioner. The role of the board is to stay very high level and provide policy direction. The board will adopt a strategic plan and provide input and direction on that strategic plan. The strategic plan will be the roadmap on how we get things accomplished. So this board will approve the strategic plan, and it's really important that there's a commitment to the strategic plan, and that each of you provides political leadership to implement the strategic plan, and also serve as a liaison back to your governing body, so that there's that communication from this board of directors back to the 4 city councils in Deschutes County and the Board of County Commissioners. Any questions on the board of directors and the role?
Eric, how often will this group be meeting? Has that been determined?
It hasn't, and really it's up to this group.
Okay, that's good to hear.
People have talked about once a month, but it's really up to the group.
Well, I know I really wanted this meeting to be in June and not wait till July, because it truly is an emergency, and I do believe that we are going to be able to collaborate together, and it's really great. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to the board for you to discuss nominating somebody to serve as your chair, and then if you wish, if you would also like a vice chair, but we'll take these in turn, first as a chair, and of course you may nominate yourself or somebody else, and once we have nominations, and of course you're all elected officials, you know how these processes kind of unfold. If anybody that we have more than one candidate, to maybe share a few words about why you'd like to serve in that capacity, and then we'll have a roll call vote. So I'll turn it over to the board for your nominations.
Nick, I'll leap in if I can here. You know, I've served on several of these multi-jurisdictional groups. I didn't introduce myself specifically before. I apologize for that. But I've been mayor now for 14 years, and council before that. And I've served on a lot of these bodies. And my personal feeling is that when you have jurisdictional groups like COACT is an example, COIC is another one. Traditionally, we've had a county commissioner chair these. And if Patty's, I would like to nominate her. A couple of other reasons. There are a lot of communities in Deschutes County that are not cities. We have Terrebonne, for example, that the county commissioner not only represents the county as a whole, but they also represent these other communities that are not cities. And then finally, I find that, you know, the cities, while we have some commonalities, we also have some differences. And so to me, the county sort of has that overarching view of what's going on, whereas we, while not myopic, we still tend to focus on our own community needs first, which is our job. So with that, I would nominate Patty Adair.
If you need a second, I'll second that nomination.
Oh, and I know, if I may, one more point. I know we're doing chair first, but I'm also going to throw my hat in the ring for Megan Perkins for vice chair, because I've seen her passion now over the last 18 months on this issue.
I would like to make a question of that nomination for Patty. I felt, as George did, that seemed like the obvious way to go. Then I was looking at the structure that is being proposed, and I see that the executive director will be managed and supervised by the county. And Patty is the boss of that guy. So that kind of, I wonder how that dynamic is going to work when the board should be directing the hired executive director, and if there is going to be any kind of conflict between what the board wants and what the county wants the executive director to do. So I would like to hear how that would work.
Sure, I'm certainly happy to answer that question if that's the will of the board before we proceed to elections. I just
Go
want
ahead,
to.
Nick.
And certainly Eric Kropp, if you would like to jump in, and or Mickey as well, because we're all discussing this together. So the executive director will officially be a county employee that will report to county administrator, to me, or my designee, which could be Eric, but it'll be a county employee and a county employee. But the key, and it'll officially be my hire, but as we'll discuss here in just a few moments, we want one of our first meetings next month to have the input from this board of directors on whom we select for that position. The executive director will then, the supervisory role and aspect is mine. The executive director will be your executive director. I mean, this person is there to implement your direction per the plan that we're going to collectively create and coordinate. So that's the position at a very high level. But I'd like to hear either from Mickey or from Eric your thoughts as well, as we are all developing this position and the structure.
Yeah, I'll point over to Eric. I know that there's some times where you would have to, the executive director would have to then go to the county board for things like procurement, and Eric, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you go. So he could elaborate more on that.
Sure. I think a couple of key concepts. The board of directors will not be directing the day-to-day work of the executive director, because that would be a very difficult. That would be very difficult for the executive director to manage if they are listening to or trying to listen to 5 different individuals that collectively make up the board of directors. The key is the board of directors adopts the strategic plan, and then the executive director is hired to carry that out, of course, working with all the agencies. It'll be kind of similar to 911, where the 911 director reports to the county administrator, but the police and fire chiefs obviously help drive the work of 911 and has close communication with the county administrator. So it's a very similar model where the executive director reports up through the county administrator, but obviously the county administrator will be communicating and working closely with the board of directors. So that's how it's designed.
To me, it seems to make sense that we're all the board, and everyone needs to be part of this decision, because it's going to take a tremendous amount of collaboration. I mean, look at what has happened with the numbers of homelessness in our state and in our world. And so I feel like all of us together are going to be able to pull it together. And, okay, so if he reports to Nick or to Eric, it's still going to be all of us together that are going to be working. And, what we can always call emergency meetings or something. But, just kind of thinking about how we work together, like on COAC and things, I just feel like we need the collaboration from the entire county. Everyone is, having a different issue. Redmond's doing one thing, and then, of course, as Mayor Endicott pointed out, we've got Terrebonne and Tumalo, and, just hearing about our communities that aren't actually sitting here. So I feel like, we've really got to give 110% to this group. I mean, all of us do. We all
Can I
have something
speak up
to
if
bring.
I may? I'm sorry. It won't be a surprise to many of you in this room or watching that know that I would be interested in being chair of this committee. I would just like to say that I think that the significant and visible impact of houselessness on Bend is something that we would need to consider, as well as the fact that I feel like the city of Bend has done more in the last couple of years than many other communities in this country to help solve this problem. It's very unusual for a city to take the lead in a lot of the work that we've been doing, and we have, because we realize that it is a humanitarian crisis and something that needs to be addressed. On a personal level, it was a little over a year ago that Councilor Broadman and I wrote a letter suggesting that this office actually exist. This is something that we conceived as being important for our community, and had the foresight to really understand, after listening to people in our community, that this is something we need for a regional solution. I've been in this work from the beginning of my time on the council, as the co-chair of the Emergency Homelessness Task Force, which put together a strategic plan that this office will actually, consider as sort of the starting point for their strategic plan. I serve as the houseless liaison for the city, so I do an update at the beginning of every meeting about what is going on with houselessness and our actions. I speak to the media. I attend events. I attended one just this morning on houselessness to talk about the city role. This is my passion, obviously, but this is something that I feel like is that I could serve as a chair and really delve deeper into this work, and I just hope that that's something we can consider going forward.
I'll just state briefly, I appreciate the question that you brought forward, Councilor Bloom. I think it's important that we all understand our role, but after listening to staff, I do feel comfortable understanding that our role is one of policy and yours would be of being that person's supervisor of the executive director. I do still, after listening to this information, feel comfortable with the nomination of Patty Adair, Commissioner Adair, and then with Megan Perkins, counselor, being vice chair. So that's my opinion.
So if I recall correctly, we have a motion on the floor for Commissioner Adair to serve as chair with a second.
Yes.
Does the board want to act on that motion now, or do you want to have a combined motion where you include both positions? My suggestion is let's do one position at a time, if we may, and with that motion, we would then, we'll conduct a roll call vote, if you're prepared, unless you'd like to further discuss the role of chair.
I think we can go ahead. My only comment would be, in graduate school, I studied management, and what we're really seeing, I really appreciate the comment by our sisters rep. And when you look at a classic matrix management model, that's really what we're talking about here. And they're successful all over the country and all over the world. So I'm perfectly comfortable. While I understand the concern, I appreciate it. I'm comfortable with the answers we've gotten from the county.
Thank you, Mayor Endicott. So I will just call the roll, and I'll just start from my left, your right on the screen with Mayor Endicott, and I'll go across. So Mayor Endicott.
Yes, Commissioner Adair.
Thank you. And I'm not yet calling you director, so I'll just stay with Councilor Bloom.
Yes.
Commissioner Adair.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
And Councilor Perkins. Okay. So with that, Commissioner Adair is elected chair of the board of directors. So Chair Adair, if I may then turn it over to you for consideration of vice chair, if you would like to elect a vice chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Administrator Lilac. Mayor Endicott, do you want to repeat then your nomination for vice chair?
I will nominate Councilor Perkins, and I apologize for going how to turn on the vice chair. I'm enthusiastic. So anyway, having said that, I do nominate our Bend counselor.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Do we want to have any further discussion?
I would just like to say that I appreciate all of the comments that you made and all of the work that you're doing. I recognize and watch daily the things that the city of Bend is doing to address the houselessness situation, and I think that your passion is outstanding, and I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing.
So are we therefore ready to vote, I believe? Mayor Endicott? I'm
Yes.
taking a vote then, yes? For
Enthusiastic,
for
yes.
Councilor Perkins? That was a yes. Councilor Bloom?
Yes. And it is Blum.
Blum, I'm sorry, that's my
No
mistake.
problem, but that's.
Bloom, oh yeah, I'm so bad about that. Councilor Scott?
Yes.
Okay, and Councilor Perkins?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Megan and I are known as the blondes with bangs, so there'll be the two of us, right? And we usually wear pastels, so anyway. Now, Megan, it'll be really good to serve together. Truly, I do believe you guys. I think we have some dynamic leadership here, and then we have Mayor Endicott to keep us level. So thank you, Mayor Endicott, for that. Executive Director, updated information, the recruitment, has that position been placed?
So Chair Eric Kropp will lead this as part of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The position, we've been working with our county HR folks, and also the city of Bend has been providing assistance, getting comparables and looking at other executive directors for houselessness offices. Our HR department has drafted the job description and is working through the appropriate pay scale based on the position. I reviewed that earlier this week and provided a few changes to the job description. So we expect to finalize the job description next week and open up the recruitment shortly thereafter. What we'll do is as soon as we have it finalized and posted, we will send the link to the board of directors so that you can help us get the word out about the recruitment and the opening. Then we're hoping July to hold interviews with candidates, and we will work with the board of directors so that the board of directors are part of that process, including serving on interview panels. For the county, it'll be much like when we hire a department head, where we have different panels. We have our county commissioners sit on each panel. We don't want to create a public meeting, so we typically have 3 panels, but we'll have a similar format so that the board of directors can help us get the recruitment out, send it to organizations or people that might be strong candidates, and then also having the board of directors serve on interview panels. So that's the plan, and we're happy to hear any thoughts or input from the board of directors on the plan.
So Eric, are you saying then by June 24th, that should be able to go out to the public for the recruitment?
Yes, that's an estimation at this point.
Okay, by next Friday, a week from today?
That's what we're targeting.
Okay, good. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mayor Endicott.
if I may, I know that, we got some funding to support this effort for the next couple of years. I just want to confirm in my own mind that this will be a 2-year appointment, and do we have any idea on a salary range?
Eric, do you have a range for us today?
Not yet. I have a ballpark. When looking at the position, we look at kind of the comparables to other organizations, and then also kind of the internal equity piece. So that puts the position around the $120,000 range. We have yet to finalize the pay grade, but that's something that our HR folks have been looking at, and we'll work with them to finalize it. And then in terms of the 2-year appointment, the office, the first 2 years are funded by the state of Oregon, of course, but part of the commitment that is required by HB 4123 is an ongoing office for up to 5 years. So really, we would put some type of description or explanation in the recruitment that really the first 2 years are funded, but the position is scheduled to go up to 5 years.
Thank you for that clarification.
And who's taking minutes for her today?
Eric Kropp is taking minutes for us as well today.
Okay, Eric, in case I did not vote for vice chair as chair, I am voting for Megan, just in case I didn't vote. I wrote down all these yeses, and I'm thinking, did I do it? So anyway.
I think you did not.
And
I didn't, so I know, I just realized that as chair, I did not vote, and I, of course, yes, so I'm voting yes.
I have a quick question, so that I don't have to watch the video.
Yes, Eric.
Councilor Perkins, was that a yes?
Yes, I did vote, yes.
Chair. All right, thank you.
I looked at my notes and realized I forgot it. I was asking everyone else. All right, so thank you, Eric. Now, Eric, will you perhaps be emailing the board when you get the salary range and everything, just to keep this group up to date? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, well, what we'll do is I could do it earlier or once we have the job announcement posted, which includes the salary range, I could do it there at that time. I could do it either way, whatever the board prefers.
Do you have a preference?
I'm fine with you doing it when you send out the job announcement.
Okay, I just want everyone to know what's going on.
Be engaged.
Yes, transparency, engagement, exactly, collaboration. So thank you. Thank you, Eric. Okay, so we need to set up our next meeting.
Thank you. Chair, so we're aiming for, the next board meeting would likely be in late July. At that point, we would, hopefully at that point, it could be early August, and Mickey or Eric jump in, once we have the applications
Early
submitted.
August is the fair.
We can't do it we certainly cannot do it the first week of August.
Sorry.
The Deschutes County Fair and Expo, begins August 3rd. Fresh on my mind. So we would avoid that week, but the key is we want to make sure that we have the applications and we know who meets the minimum qualifications and then convene the board for the review. And so we'll coordinate with that. And at that point, we could then begin to discuss what the regular calendar of meetings may look like. And maybe we meet more regularly as we get the office up and running and then determine what the schedule looks like at that point. But what we'd like to do is just to see if that time frame feels right for the first meeting, and then what other topics you might like to include on that next meeting.
I'm wondering, do you think we could have like a report from Colleen Thomas? And maybe the people that are serving, in Sisters in Lapine, just so, and then Megan, if there's someone that you think that we should hear from the city, but just kind of get a great overview next month, where we're at.
Sure.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. And as Councilor Perkins mentioned, they're doing a lot. So we can certainly include updates from Colleen, and I know Colleen's watching us today. Thank you, Colleen, for being here, as well as city staff. Those are certainly two. Any other, we certainly have other ideas. We could certainly provide a snapshot of what the Emergency Homeless Task Force plan, strategic plan looks like as a starting point for that work going forward. That's another topic we could include. I don't want to assume.
Everyone will have approved it by then, will they not?
Yeah, so it's gone through a year of development and then review as well. So the final draft will be available by June 27th. So then we could deliver it to you and share with you via email on the 27th, and then certainly a presentation in July. Another great idea would be perhaps if you're going to have Colleen Thomas present for behavioral health, but maybe Homeless Leadership Coalition Chair Eliza Wilson, we could invite her to come and provide an overview as well, especially since that's part of the House bill requirement is to be in coordination with the continuum of care. So that's one suggestion as well.
Mickey, will we have the sort of the statewide pilot group, will we have met prior to us meeting here?
Oh, yes.
Again, because that might be helpful to kind of, this is going to work if we get, best practices, right, from other pilot communities. It might be nice to have just a mini update for those who can't make the calls and.
Absolutely, yes. We could do a recap from those meetings as well.
And that's on the statewide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
It would.
Were you on the call the other day?
No, I was not.
It was very interesting.
Okay, good. All right, so yeah, I think that's really important because everyone is going to be doing a lot of work in the next little bit. And also, it might be kind of nice to hear from Oasis Village too. And I didn't mention, but we've got the 8 acres that we're working on around Oasis Village. I know James is here today, but it would be nice to know like where they're at. And I think it's important for the record so that the community knows what's going on.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think that an important presentation at some point, it doesn't have to be in July, but I would love to hear from the Veterans Village and how they did that, because that's a grassroots, bootstrap, excuse the military technology or verbiage here, but that was an effort, a groundswell by a veterans community to provide a veterans service and to include fundraising and everything. So I think that would be a very interesting presentation sometime in the future. Also, the fact that they have now graduated their 4th member in 6 months that went through that program. So they're doing something right, and it would be, I think, fun. I use that word advisedly, fun to hear from them.
If I can make a suggestion, Chair, might make sense because there are so many amazing groups doing such good work in our community. Maybe we just pick a couple, each meeting, to highlight what they're doing. Might make the most sense.
Right.
It would be nice to have them represented in this forum so we could say, what do you want from us?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
How would you like to participate in this model? In what, on an advisory committee or not,
Right.
get their feedback right away.
Definitely. No, it's congratulations, the fact that they have their 4th graduate.
Yeah.
It's outstanding. And then I did have a call from someone from Lapine that's working on veterans down there. So it's really wonderful. Now, if we can just get something in Redmond, Mayor Endicott, for the veterans.
Well, as I mentioned, I'm actually working with the VFW right now. They do have one safe harbor site, and I'm imploring them to put a second one in place at a minimum, be able to provide at least 2 RV sites for homeless vets. The other issue we have is, can we limit it or should we limit it to veterans only? That's really on the table right now for a discussion. So to me, that's an important piece of it. Being a veteran, I care about veterans, obviously, but are there others also in need?
Well, we have almost 16,000 veterans in Deschutes County, which is quite, it's a significant group of our population, and to help those that are homeless, it seems very successful. Yes, the Clackamas, I have to give credit to the Clackamas County model, because that's really what they were being following. Yeah. We actually spent September 1st of 2020 at that facility, and it was amazing. So it was right during the fire season, we were going by it. Anyway, yeah. So we were fortunate to see that village. But they really felt like their village was best when it was limited to 15. And I know our village is contemplating maybe increasing it a couple, but that's what Clackamas had found out.
And if I may, I'm not sure if it's appropriate for a board meeting or if maybe a lunch and learn, one-on-one type of thing, but it would be also great, I bet, to meet with McKinney-Vento, the homeless coalition, homeless liaisons at the school district, to get first-hand stories of there's 584 houseless students right now throughout Deschutes County. So that's one idea, and then another one is perhaps meeting with the strategic plan. There's 5 different priorities, and one of them is to establish this collaborative office, enlist the community, expand services, so maybe have somebody from the service providers, or maybe a group of them, express to you why they created that as a priority in the strategy and the barriers they're facing, the kind of challenges they're experiencing. There's also the find space for unsheltered, maybe have specific service providers in that world to share with you why they created that priority. And then the fifth priority is focus on affordable housing, maybe have folks who are in the affordable housing arena and do a deep dive and let you really get in the world of what are the barriers they're facing. And then overall, just for everybody, I've heard so much throughout the year being the liaison to the Emergency Homelessness Task Force, the kind of sustainable funding barriers that they're facing, access to it, the ease of access, the speed in which they receive funding, and just in general, the lack of funding, that to the point where they're changing their business model just to stay afloat. So maybe a lunch and learn would be an idea for, if you're willing to consider that. That's another idea I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah,
So it sounds like to me that we probably need to meet at least once a month.
Definitely, yeah, I think so. We could meet once a week, I think, but yes, once a month, truly, yeah.
For at least, till things are up and running.
Truly. At least for an hour and a half, I would think, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can, and I think we now, and with our Vice Chair Perkins' comment, if we almost need to just create a calendar of a few each meeting, and how incredibly valuable it will be for all of us to learn about what's happening around the county now from all the different service providers. And it'll be a great launching point for our new executive director. Whether they're local or not, it'll be a great opportunity for them to listen and learn very, very quickly as well. So great suggestions. And we have a robust agenda for sure, our next meeting and well beyond, I think, for the balance of this calendar year for sure. Before, I just have to say to Councilor Blum, I'm sorry. I think I'm the one that started with mispronouncing your name. We've only worked together for years, and I just I mispronounced it, but.
I respond anyway, but just get the record straight at the first meeting.
And so Chair Adair, just the last topic we have for today is a public comment. If
Yes.
anybody has comments
We
they would like
have-
to make, I'll be
we
happy
have
to
10 minutes.
step back.
Yay. So public comments? Are there raised hands, Stephanie? Okay. All right. Okay, there's Jenny.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excuse me, I went to, okay, so everything changed. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, so here's my public comment. I respectfully request for due diligence to be performed within this collaborative office. And what I mean by that is researching other cities' successful models where homeless population is reduced and in turn the suffering. One of the end goals, just from my perspective, is to have this office be very effective and strategic, and then eventually not need to be existent since it's done its job and the results are created, and it's not like 15 years of strategic planning and plans aren't enacted. Something else, it seems like what is a need from service providers through some of my research and looking into articles is an electronic platform in terms of homeless provider software. So a persistent complaint is that the software is really tough to manage, to understand, and then also create key insights. And I just had some meetings with service providers, and that is one of the persistent or consistent themes, is that the software is really terrible to work with. And so that's just the end. Was just it eventually have it be very strategic and effective, and that also the homeless service provider software, that's something that's looked into and heavily invested in. And
Okay. Thank you very much. Stephanie, there was another raised hand? Okay, thank you. Catherine?
May I speak?
There you go.
Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate this meeting. It was great to hear all of the stories from all of the different communities. And I would just like to second one of the items that Megan had mentioned, and that is public outreach and communications with our communities, particularly in Bend, where I live and work on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. I often hear incredibly negative comments regarding homelessness or houselessness and a misunderstanding of who the community is. So I'm hoping that one of the items that you'll be focused on is better communication with all of our community, so that there's to help empathy grow and to get us all working together to find solutions. And then the other aspect, of course, is finding more affordable housing getting created. The funding sources for that are few and far between and very difficult. But if we're going to transition those who wish to leave the houselessness situation into permanent housing, we have to create more housing for those folks. So thank you very much. I look forward to watching your future meetings, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. Thank you for joining us today. Stephanie, are there any other comments? Okay, anyone in the room? Go ahead.
My name is Morgan Schmidt. This humanitarian crisis deserves this coordinated effort, and our service providers deserve the support of this board. I'm grateful for the ways the City of Bend has led the way on this project. Thank you, Megan, and the other counselors. Many of the concrete things the county is doing weren't mentioned, and so I'd like to give a shout out to the Deschutes County Behavioral Health Street Outreach Team, Behavioral Health Services, and especially the peers that offer peer support to folks experiencing houselessness. This office must be taken seriously. It has to. We need leadership that will really show up and do the work thoughtfully in ways that make sense and in ways that support the goals of the strategic plan. We need leadership that is data-driven, not just driven by anecdotes and misconceptions that often the public has, but needs to lead the way and use language that is dignifying and humanizing and insists on a clear understanding of the incredibly diverse experiences of those who are unsheltered in our communities. We need leadership that's going to listen to our local experts and seek to support them instead of discounting them. We must follow their lead. We must follow their lead, and we must listen to the experiences of those who are unhoused in the process. The leadership of this office must help our communities rally on behalf of those experiencing homelessness. We must insist on a humanizing way forward. I do believe that we can tackle it together. I do believe the way forward is collaborative. I believe that we have the energy and the care in our communities to extend grace and dignity to those who need it most, to our most vulnerable neighbors. And I think if we do it together and if we take it seriously in ways that make sense, we can make this place a place where everybody has a chance to thrive. So thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to seeing what you will do.
Thank you, Morgan. Is there anyone else in the room that wants to comment? Are we good? Okay, do we have a date actually then for our next meeting, just for the public record? Did we come up with one? Or do we
Not
need to
yet.
send out a doodle poll or something?
Yes, we will. So we'll coordinate with county HR to determine when the timing would be. They'll post the job description, and then that takes about a month to advertise and get some applications back. But we'll do another doodle poll.
Okay. So I think that let's either aim for the last week of July or the second week of August so that we don't conflict with the Deschutes County Fair and Expo.
Well, it would make it a
Madam
little...
Chair,
Yes.
Rodeo, excuse me.
it's George here. I'm wondering, this to me has been very successful. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. And, I will endeavor to make every meeting, be it either Zoom or in person. So I hope this venue will be offered for our future meetings just in case. So thanks for that.
No. Thank you, Mary Endicott. So we will not have a date, but it'll either be the last week of July or the second week of August. And so look for the poll, and this was great. So thank you for actually moving this meeting up to June. I think it was really important because now I feel like we're actually starting out ahead, and this is good because we've got a big job to look forward to.
Amen.
So thank you, everyone, for coming today, and the meeting is adjourned, and it's at 2:31. That's amazing.
Good job.
Thank you.